So I'm Deborah Armstrong, and I am the programs director at Nokee Kwe. And this year will mark 25 years at Nokee Kwe. Originally, it was going to be 3, and now it's 25. And I think that's a testament to the Nokee Kwe values. Nokee Kwe is an Indigenous-based organization focusing on employment and education. It started with 3 Indigenous women sitting around their kitchen table concerned about employment opportunities for Indigenous women. They actually created a number of social enterprises. One of them was a bookbinding business, back then in the 70s, right, when nothing was digital, and it was quite successful. And then they grew to include men. And then in the 80s, the federal government came along and asked, based on our success, if we could duplicate this program, but for non-Indigenous individuals. So we did as well. And there was a career directions program that was born out of that. And then about, was it 15, 16 years ago, the federal government downloaded to the provincial government. And here we are today. And some things have morphed and changed in terms of, programs and services, because they'd like to remain relevant and making sure that we're filling needs and gaps in the community. But what hasn't changed is that we still follow Indigenous principles and practices, and we are Indigenous led. And that, so, as our clients tell us when they come into Nokee Kwe, there's something different about Nokee Kwe, but they can't quite put their finger on it. And we think that's possibly what it is, because in our referencing of the 7 grandfather teachings, different from Western-based models, in the 7 grandfather teachings, everybody is worthy of trust and respect and honesty and a number of other things. And individuals coming to Nokee Kwe, wherever they're coming from, and whoever they are, whether they're clients, learners, participants, staff, volunteers, they don't have to spend time earning that trust or earning, respect, or, earning the honesty. It's automatically given up front. Certainly what, behavior can change what that looks like, but it's not something that has to be earned. It is freely given. And that's just one of the things that sets us apart a little bit from more Western-based models, where there's very much a hierarchy, and you have to earn the trust and you have to earn the respect. And another thing that makes us a little different is that everybody's voice is heard, everybody contributes, and that internally and externally, Nokee Kwe is very transparent. And in more Western-based models, it's, the one at the top holds all the knowledge and information and disseminates what they feel is relevant or necessary down through the pipes. But Nokee Kwe, everything is shared, so that even though it might not be specifically relevant to an individual's particular position or role at Nokee Kwe, they have a greater understanding and awareness of not only what's happening within Nokee Kwe, but what's happening in the community, and things related to future direction or innovation or strategic plans. And we just feel that it's important to be transparent and to be honest and open and respectful. And we think that's what people are alluding to when they say there's something different about Nokee Kwe, but I can't put my finger on it. Yes, so we think that's it. Career counseling is one. The career directions program, originally when it came about, it was a 32-week program, and then it became 10 and 6, because people's needs change, things change in the community. I mean, years and years ago, there was a lot more manufacturing in the area. And of course, when people left for whatever reason or were laid off, they had access to, full 52 weeks or whatever of employment insurance. And now with precarious employment, people don't always have those supports available to them. So organizations like Nokee Kwe, we've had to morph and change to reflect that in our services as well. But one of the things that we were known for in the community was our in-depth career planning and assessment, and the number of tools that we could utilize in terms of vocational diagnostic testing and assessment. So we still have the tools available for people who are interested. We still do a lot of in-depth one-to-one career counseling to help people figure out, like to make those career decisions. So it's not just about next steps, it's about actually making a decision. And I mean, I don't know about you, but I mean, when I was younger, I made my career decisions because I thought these were my options. I didn't know these were my options. So I made decisions within the framework that I knew and understood, not knowing that this other framework was available. And that's one of the things that we like to do with clients who are coming in, because when they're trying to make the decision, of course, everybody operates within a framework of what they know and understand. So we like to provide them the knowledge and information opportunities of, and there is also this. You know, we will help you within this if this is what you decide, but just know that this may also be available to you, you know, depending on where you want to go. So we provide a lot of labor market information, a lot of career decision making information, you know, vocational diagnostic testing assessment. If they're interested in that, that's where they want to go. Of course, we do a lot of the basic things that, you know, the other employment agencies do in terms of resumes and cover letters, interview techniques and strategies, you know, how to do that and convey, you know, professionalism and confidence, mock interviews, job shadowing, you know, if they're trying to make the career decision. Because it's one thing to read it on a piece of paper, you know, or looking up NOC codes or NAIT codes and saying, okay, so this is what this job says it is. But in the real world, it could be very different. And even childcare in one organization can be vastly different in another. You know, construction in this particular trade could be, you know, different. So we like to be able to connect people with other mentors or professionals in the community so that they can have a real life experience of, well, this, you know, this is what it would look like here. This is what it would look like here. This is what it could look like here. Now, where are the commonalities? What's different? And knowing that, you know, wherever they decide to go, the commonalities will probably be the same, but they need to be flexible to understand that there could also be differences, and that helps them with their career decision making as well. Soft skills training. So you had mentioned about, you know, training that we do. So we have a wide variety of soft skills training. It can be anything from problem solving, leadership, critical thinking, teamwork. There's a number of other workshops that we have available related to soft skills training. We do professional development sessions. Sometimes we bring in external guest speakers for that. So we've had a number of external guest speakers. Just an example, for instance, we've had Scotiabank come in and do a little bit on resumes and cover letters in the finance industry and what they're looking for. We've had healthcare come in. This is what we're looking for, you know, in a resume or cover letter, you know, coming to healthcare. We've had, you know, some of the different trades come in. This is what we're looking for. These are the expectations. So these different sort of professional development sessions as well. We've done hard skill training in the past, depending on funding that we've had. We've done like computer troubleshooting. So we connected them. We partnered with an IT company in London, and they learned all about computers and how to take them apart, how to troubleshoot what the problem was, how to put them back together. And they got to keep the computer that they were working on. We have done coding and programming training. We have done bookkeeping training. We have done, you know, income tax return training. We've done Oneida language training, and certainly infused in a number of our programs. We've done, you know, cultural training and cultural crafts training. We've done wampum belts and water drums, you know, corn husk dolls. So there's a number of cultural teachings that are infused within some of our programs as well. We, in our literacy and basic skills program, there is, so they can prep to write and pass their GED, but they can also work on OSSD credit courses. I'm not going to tell you too much about that because I know Jake, who is our program coordinator, he's just like super excited and loves to talk about his program. So I'll leave that, and I'll let him talk more about that. In our positive voice program, which is more of a bridging program. It's more focused on empowering and positivity and designed to boost confidence and motivation among participants. That I'm trying to think, we've had that for about 8 years now. And that came from feedback that we received from our Indigenous women in terms of their unique needs, particularly urban Indigenous women who were feeling isolated. And we were looking at ways that we could help them improve their social capital, as well as financial capital, and reduce those feelings of of loneliness and unconnectedness. And the other issue that was brought to our attention with them was that when you Google Indigenous women, what comes up a lot of the time is murdered and missing. And it's important to know this, but at the same time, they were telling us they don't always want to be viewed as the victims. They want to be viewed as their gifts and strengths. So we thought, well, how can we change the narrative, right? A narrative from being viewed as weak or as victims, and being viewed as strong, and being viewed for their gifts and their strengths and their talents. And so when we created the Positive Voice program, there's some skills training embedded in that. So we would have different professionals come in and teach our participants how to write narratives, how to write memes, how to do poetry, how to do digital photography, and of course, all the skills that come along with the digital photography in terms of uploading them into the computer, how to manipulate and enhance different photos, how to do JPEGs, how what you can do with raw images, how to share that information, how to print those pictures, because some of our participants were not as comfortable with sharing their stories or able to in the way that they wanted articulate their stories, but they could do it through pictures. So that's why we provided the digital cameras. So then we would take the messaging that they were creating through these narratives, these positive narratives, and we were flooding social media with these positive narratives. And we were creating postcards and sending them up to Ottawa all the time as well, to try to not overshadow any of the other messaging out there, but enhance it by also letting the community know about the strength of Indigenous women and the gifts and talents that they also bring, and sharing that. So right now we're going through a bit of a transformation as well in Positive Voice. We are going to be holding some focus groups and doing some surveys, because we've had it running for 8 years now, and we want to make sure that we're still meeting the needs of our Indigenous women, and that it's still the messaging, the positive narratives are something that's still important to them. So anyway, so we'll keep you posted on what happens with that. We have a resource center that's drop-in, so people can work on computers. They can get some light touch in terms of, well, how do I find this, or where do I access employer information, or where can I get career information? How do I send an attachment? I don't have an email address. Can you help me create one? Can I print this off? Can you scan this? Help me scan this, help me fax this. And so we can print it, we can scan it, we can fax it. But what we prefer to do, if the individual has time, is we like to take a few minutes and show them how to do it, so that's a skill that they have. So it's they didn't come in looking to build skills, right? But we'll ask them, would you like to be shown how to do this? Would you like to learn how to do this? And most of them like, yeah, I've never sent a fax, or I've never scanned anything. Can you show me how to do it? So then they also walk out not only with the document that they wanted, but they've had, a light touch skill service as well.
Yeah, so I'm Jake Martel. I'm the literacy coordinator here at Nokee Kwe. This is a role that I've been in for almost 10 years. We're 3 months shy of the 10-year mark. And one of the things that I like to tell people about this program specifically is that, as somebody who is a settler myself, I have learned as much from my learners in this program, if not more, than they have learned from me. We have a really close-knit and collaborative learning environment, and we're always interested in the perspectives of our students. One of the things that we found about traditional education is that a lot of times, students' points of view are sort of subjugated to the teacher's point of view, and that's kind of a thing that doesn't really happen here, right? If we're really pursuing reconciliation, and if we're really pursuing partnerships from opposite sides of the medicine wheel, then it's important to recognize everybody's perspective, and I'm very grateful for everything that I've learned from my learners, from Nokee Kwe, from our community partners. Thank you to all of the people out there who have helped to make me a better teacher and who have helped to make our literacy program a better program. We run a literacy and basic skills program. So literacy and basic skills programs are perfect for people who are looking to skill up. They might have some skills that they need for a particular job that they happen to be lacking. Literacy and basic skills programs are perfect for this kind of learning because we're competency-based, we're skill-based. And so all of the learning materials that we use are designed to mimic tasks that you would encounter on the job or in an apprenticeship or in post-secondary education, or if you move on and decide to complete your OSSD. So this is a really good foundational learning opportunity for people, and it's where we always begin. So the idea is that when you come to our program, we do an assessment to find out where you're at right now, and if there are gaps in your skill portfolio, we'll use literacy and basic skills to address those gaps. The thing that is unique about our program, though, is that we don't necessarily stop at literacy and basic skills, because a lot of our clients come to us looking for certifications that colleges and employers will understand and respect, which means that a lot of people are looking for GEDs and a lot of people are looking for OSSDs, and we can help support people who are looking for those programs as well. We are not affiliated with the school board, so in order for us to provide high school credits, our learners do have to work online with one of our community partners. They can benefit from in-person tutoring here at Nokee Kwe, and so we are always very, very careful that we never provide students with the answers, because obviously that's something that a tutor can't do. But we can help them interpret those more difficult questions and make the assignments more understandable. We can act as proofreaders. So there's a whole variety of supports that we can provide for people who are working through online credits. Now, I also mentioned GED, but that program, as many people who are watching this video will know, is coming to an end very rapidly. By the time this video is hosted, in fact, the program may have come to an end. And so we are completing the last round of GED testing now. For our learners, we're not registering any new learners in GED programs, and we anticipate that when the GED program is actually closed, there will be a much greater number of people looking for those high school credits. And so we try to provide as much support as we can, helping the learners work through the PLAR process. PLAR stands for Prior Learning Assessment and Recognition, and it is a way for adult learners to quickly gain a large number of high school credits based on life experience and based on their performance on sort of standardized tests. So we do all of those things. In addition, being an organization that was founded by Indigenous folks and is still consistent with Indigenous practices and beliefs, We do try to provide a lot of cultural learning. So just as an example, we have an Oneida language program that is about to start on Monday. So that's going to be a 10-week program, and every day people can come and learn conversational Oneida language, right? It's really an exciting thing. Some of the drums that you see around us and some of the crafts were created in other cultural workshops. So that's another thing that we do here at Nokee Kwe. All under the same roof. And of course, you've already heard about our employment services team, and many of our learners will work with our employment services team and our literacy team at the same time in order to sort of double their success rates. One of the other things that we're really proud of right now, we have a partnership with a program called Bigajiskan. Bigajiskan is a mental health support program, and we try to provide as much support to Bigajiskan clients as we possibly can. And you know, there are a lot of accommodations that we provide for folks who are experiencing trauma, mental health crisis, and that sort of thing. Obviously, our ability to work with high needs, multi-barriered learners is somewhat contingent upon funding and staffing allocations and all of those things. So it's an area where we're looking to expand.
For most of the programs, it's 18 and up. With our literacy and basic skills, it's 19 and up, and that's more related to school boards and you know, in terms of guidelines that they have. And our positive voice program was 18 and up, but we've been hearing a lot from younger women who are very interested in the program and interested in the cultural teachings that are part of the programs. Because the other thing, it's not a sort of a mandate of the positive voice program, but it's something that happens as part of the voice program, is that we are preserving history because we are infusing cultural teachings and having elders and guest presenters into the program to talk about cultural teachings and to do some of the crafts. For instance, back in December, we did ribbon skirt making. And we've done a number of other Indigenous crafts, you know, throughout the years in the program as well. So even though that's not the focus of Positive Voice, preserving the Indigenous history is something that happens through Positive Voice. And because we've had a younger demographic now saying that they want to learn more, they want to learn more about their history and their culture, you know, more than what they get in the schools or they've, you know, read in a book somewhere. They want to talk to the elders. They want to talk to, you know, other Indigenous women who are knowledge keepers and learn from them. So we're looking at if we open this program up to 16 and up, you know, like, can we do it, or what are the complications? Because, you know, of course, if you're 16, you're probably in school. So do we have to run it outside of school hours, you know, things like that, you know, location. But that's something we're considering. But right now, every program is 18 or over, except for our literacy and basic skills, which is 19. It's very individual. So for some organizations, we have a more formal referral process. For some, it's a little more casual. For some, it's just hey, just give me a heads up, right? But again, it depends too on whether or not we have client consent that we can connect with that other organization on their behalf. Otherwise, we provide the information to the individual and they follow up. And so that's on the organization side. On the individual side, again, it's up to them in terms of, do they feel that they want the support? Do they feel you know, they would like us to be there, you know, when they make that call or when they make that appointment? They want us to make it for them, you know, because maybe, you know, there's some anxiety around it. So again, yeah, it's very individual. So we don't have one specific process because it's based on individual needs and it's based on the process within other organizations as well. Provided we have consent from the individual as well, then we will follow up with that other organization too, just to find out, did they make it okay? Or is engagement okay? And we follow up with the individual too. Are you getting what you need from this other organization, from this other program? Because if they're not getting what they need, or maybe it wasn't, quite the right fit for them, then we need to explore other options so that, we can ensure that they're getting what it is that they need so that they can move forward. So there's always a lot of follow-up that's done with that. We also have other organizations that come into Nokee Kwe from time to time, sometimes to talk just to our staff and volunteers to update us. What's happening in your organization? This is what we know that you used to do. Are you still doing all this? And is there anything different that you're doing? So they come in and talk to us and inform us. And we have those sessions for our clients as well, so that they can get updates on what's happening. And sometimes that's just a comfort level for them. It's always hard to go into a new place that you've never been and you don't know anybody, and you're there because you're seeking help, and you're there because it's like, okay, I've not been able to accomplish this on my own, so now I'm asking somebody to help me with it. And that can be a sense of embarrassment for some people, no matter how strong they are, because we all need help from time to time. And it's really difficult for some people to ask for that. So by having that organization come in and speak to a group of people in terms of here's who we are and here's what we do, it brings down that level of the unknown and of angst and potential fear, so that they've already got a connection. They already understand what the services are. They understand what the process is, so that if it's a place that they would like a referral to, there's a different comfort level now when we make that referral to the organization. So we like to do that. But yeah, lots of things change. And some people are just not aware of all the free resources that are out there. For instance, the Métis Nation of Ontario, we've had them in a few times to talk to, individuals, who are interested in the Métis aspect of things and wanting to know, I think I'm Métis, so how can you help me? What programs and services do you offer? I guess that's our referral process. And yes, and it's not a one size fits all. One of the success stories from Positive Voice, and we've had a number of people go on to post-secondary, to self-employment, to employment. But you've probably heard of the drum group, the Positive Drum Group, or the Warrior Women Drum Group. So they came out of different past participants of the Positive Voice program, who through networking through the Positive Voice program and through some of the skills-based training and the support with confidence and with motivation, came together and formed this drum group. And initially, well, I shouldn't say initially, because it's still therapeutic for them. It's a therapeutic process, but initially they came together just to do the drumming, in a quiet place. So Nokee Kwe provided the space for them to do the drumming, so they would get together because it was very therapeutic. And then people started asking about it, because we would have them out at events for Nokee Kwe, and they would do their drumming. And then other organizations and companies stepped forward and said, could they come out and do some drumming for us, or could they do this, or could they do that? And now they are across Ontario, and they're picking up gigs all the time. And they've come back to Nokee Kwe with, okay, I need support now as an entrepreneur in terms of self-employment, because this is growing for us. So I would say that would be one of our success stories. There's one particular client I remember from years ago who accessed a number of our different programs, education, employment, some of the skills training at Nokee Kwe. So this individual, he was an older individual. He seemed like he had a big heart, rough around the edges, but he came to us with a criminal record of attempted murder. He'd had there were some other things in there as well. He had some learning disabilities. He had some physical disabilities. he had dropped out, I think in grade 7 or grade 8, but he, as they say, he had done his time and he was wanting to make some life changes and was very genuine and sincere about that, and a hard worker. He'd been having a lot of challenges trying to find employment because he didn't present well, he didn't articulate well, he couldn't read very well. He had a criminal record. He didn't have transportation. He didn't have appropriate clothing. He didn't have proper hygiene. There were a number of things that were standing in the way of this individual. So we worked with him, for quite a while, and tried a few different employers, and then we found this one employer who we spent some time, advocating for this individual, and it just seemed like the perfect fit. The hygiene wasn't going to be important. They didn't care about the criminal record. There wasn't going to be reading involved. They said, we can train him on whatever he needs to know. He doesn't have to learn it. And, we will take the time to do the training. So we started off with a placement for the individual. There were some rough bumps during the placement where the employer said, yeah, I don't know. So we went in and we met with them individually. We met with them together in terms of, what's happening that you don't want to happen and what's not happening that should be happening. And we did some coaching, we did some mentoring, we provided some additional support on that. And I think, I'm trying to remember back because it was a few years ago, we provided support, I think, for about 6 months for this individual on the job. And now it's been years, like years and years, and they're still there.
So this year, and when I say this year, it's strange because our years go by a fiscal cycle as opposed to a calendar cycle. So for us, the year begins on April 1st and it ends on March 31st. So we are right now 2 weeks away from the year end. Woohoo! And so in this fiscal year, we have had 3 folks graduate with full OSSDs, one of whom is now in college. 2 others are currently working with our employment services team to find employment. We have a learner who has completed a GED in this fiscal year. We've got another learner who is a little bit more than halfway through. And in terms of the number of high school credits, secondary school credits that have been granted to learners in the Nokee Kwe program this year, because of our really high participation in junior PLAR, we're looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 to 30 individual high school credits that have been distributed amongst a pool of 10 learners. We've also had tremendous gains in terms of literacy and basic skills. And one of the amazing things for me is when I see graduates of our program here coming back to us for work placements in their post-secondary programs, because it gives us a way to reconnect with them. A lot of them feel very at home here because they have participated in our program as learners, and oftentimes people speak to me about wanting to give something back. So we're working with a placement student right now who is a former graduate who is looking to break into social work and will be an absolutely fabulous success story. Quite frankly, is already a huge success story. And I have worked side by side with some folks who have also earned their OSSDs through Nokee Kwe. We have people who are members of the Bigajiskan team who once were learners in Nokee Kwe's program, and that's absolutely amazing because now we're working side by side. It is an absolutely incredible feeling to be working side by side with somebody who has taught you so much as an educator, right? Because I learn from my students, but somebody who I have had the privilege of teaching, and now to be working side by side with this person to improve the lives of other people who are particularly vulnerable and who really need that kind of wraparound community support. It's a very, very, very fulfilling situation. And I'm not naming names because we don't have confidentiality agreements signed, but if you're watching this, you all know who you are. Nokee Kwe is proud of you. So what happens is you actually fill the drum with water, okay, and it depending on how much water is in the drum, it changes the sound. And so these have a lot of ceremonial use, specifically with Haudenosaunee communities.
I'm almost a senior citizen. And so those career planning supports and information, that wasn't there, when I was going through this. And I may have made different decisions in my youth if I'd known what other options were available. So I am all about empowering individuals with information so that they can make more informed decisions. So that's part of it. And I completely understand. I mean, I've gone, after my degree, I went back to school a number of times over my lifetime, for other degrees, for other micro credentials and things like that. So I understand the importance of, I don't know what I don't know. And I don't really know maybe what I want right now. And sometimes that means further training or education down the road. So I understand the importance of an adult coming back to school saying, I didn't appreciate this or understand that it was going to be important to me, or it wasn't important to me at the time. But now, given what I want to do, it is important, and needing that opportunity, needing that support to do that as well. Excuse me. And I guess, and on a diversity level, understanding the challenges and the barriers and the racism and the discrimination that still exists in our community on so many levels. Certainly for Indigenous people, but there's some for youth, there's some for women, there's a little bit for everybody. Unfortunately, here we are, 2024, and we're still having to talk about sexism and racism and discrimination, and it's unfortunate, but it still exists. And I guess that's another piece for me personally is, yet you can't change the world, but you can do what what you can do, right? To the best of your ability, one step at a time, as they say, and trying to take strides toward informing and educating and creating awareness, of diversity and an appreciation for the diversity and how diversity positively impacts all of us, not negatively, but positively, and how all of our lives are enriched by diversity, not encumbered by it, and just taking those little moments and opportunities when we can to advocate for diversity and hope that maybe somewhere there's going to be a small change that happens because of it. And when that small change happens, maybe that change will expand, within that family, within that community, within that school, whatever it happens to be. And so 25 years, that's why I'm still here, because to me, there's still work that needs to be done.